Hi there, and welcome to the Fed Talks. My name is Nathan Hall, and today we're joined by Adam Wylie, who is the Managing Director for the recycle side of Smiths News. Today we'll be talking about the recycle scheme itself. Adam, before we dive into it and share with the retailers tuning in more about it, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. Morning, Nathan. Thank you for the invitation. Really excited to talk about Smiths News Recycle today. So a bit of background about me. I'm the Managing Director of Smiths News Recycle. I also sit on the executive team at Smiths News PLC. I've been in the business about 4 months, so relatively new, but really enjoying the culture of the company. It's full of great, passionate people. I've been in the industry, pretty much boy and man, the last 20 years. I joined a waste management company about 20 years ago and spent my career in operational roles as well as commercial roles. My last position before Smiths News was in an exec role at a company called Veolia. They are the world's largest environmental company, and I was responsible for their commercial division, which is all kind of business waste, and we were serving very large customers, big corporates, nationals, to your local SMEs. I got into recycling by chance, really, but as I've seen it grow and develop, it's really given me a lot of purpose and impact, and that's why I'm really passionate about what we do. And what it contributes in terms of cleaner planet, it supports communities, and it drives real change. So I'm really pleased to be able to talk to you today about Smiths News Recycle and my journey, and hopefully help some of your members through their transition over the next few years.
Absolutely. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on, Adam. Let's move on to the scheme itself then. There might be retailers watching this that might not be aware of it. So what exactly is it? How does it work for a retailer?
Sure. So our service is really aligned to Smiths News' purpose about making our customers' lives easier and more profitable. So when we looked at our existing business, we really thought about what would complement well to our customers and also Smiths News. So about 3 years ago, we launched a trial to collect recycling from retailers, from some of the members. And essentially our service is when we go and deliver our news and magazines and products, we also collect recycling from the retailers. So that is cardboard, it's plastic, but also dry mix recycling as well. Mm-hmm. So we utilize our existing infrastructure, which means that we're really carbon friendly. And over the last 3 years, we've really grown this proposition, and we've seen that our customers really appreciate the fact that it's a 7-day-a-week service, so you don't have any service disruption. It's really efficient and effective. So we're already a supplier. They know the driver already. So when we arrive, they're very familiar. And also, we in terms of compliance and security, we scan all of the collections that we perform. So you've got assurances of proof of collection, and we also collect a lot of data for us to provide good reporting, which is becoming really important, certainly for some of the larger organizations. So that in a nutshell is what we offer. We come to retailers, deliver products, and at the same time we collect their recycling.
That's brilliant, Adam. And personally, the feedback since you launched the scheme I've had from retailers is exceptional. They really love it. It would be interesting to hear, so what current policies and legislation are affecting independent retailers and our members in this area?
Firstly, it's great to hear that they recognise what we're delivering. We are really passionate about that, and one of the things I can say as an organisation is we are very customer centric. So we do spend a lot of time at the exec and the leaders in the business really wanting that feedback. So it's fantastic to hear, and I have seen myself some great feedback in terms of being cost effective and easy to use. So that's brilliant. in terms of legislation, I want to really talk about three significant things that are coming up, which will impact the retailers and probably has impacted the retailers to some degree already. And that will happen over the next few years. So the first one I'll talk about is something called simpler recycling. So simpler recycling is new legislation which had phase one in April of this year. And ultimately, what it means is that if you're a business, you're mandated to separate your recycling, so food waste and also your dry mix recycling. So things like cardboard, paper, cans, and glass. The first phase wouldn't have really impacted your members. So the first phase in April 2025 was for companies larger than 10 full-time employees. The next phase that will really impact most of your members comes into place in April 2027. So your members and the retailers need to really get ready for that coming in place in April 2027. It feels like a long time away, I appreciate that, but as an industry, phase one has had a huge impact on collectors and providers, because it's probably the biggest change that's happened in business waste, certainly for a long time, if not since the legislations were introduced. So what I'd encourage the members to do is reach out to Smiths News. Our current recycle offer will ensure that you're compliant for your dry mix recycling, and we're also looking at how we expand our services to offer those food collections as well. So that's the first one, and that will be coming up fairly soon. The second one I want to talk about is mandatory take back of vapes. So your retailers will be large sellers of vapes and e-cigarettes. So there was a new legislation that was actually introduced last year, and that meant that if you sold vapes, you had to provide a return point in your store, and that you needed to work with a responsible collector of those vapes to ensure that they go through the right waste and recycling process. The regulator of that scheme, the Office for Product Safety and Standards, have started to talk about enforcing those standards. So it's been fairly relaxed implementation. However, they are going to start visiting and checking. So what I'd encourage your members to really think about is, are they currently compliant? And if they're not, again, it's something that Smiths News is starting to explore, and we're looking at working with partners that we can offer a cost-effective, compliant solution to collect vapes. We're not quite at the point where we're ready to do that. Over the next weeks and months, I think we'll be in a position to hopefully come to your members and talk to them about a service that will be very similar to our Smiths News Recycle offer today. So we'll be able to provide them with it's called a vape tube for vape recycling, and we can offer collection on our existing services. So you get all the same benefits that I mentioned earlier. And then finally is something called the deposit return scheme, and this will have a huge impact for the retailers. And that was kind of the next topic point that you and I wanted to cover, really. So I'll introduce deposit return scheme. It's also known as DRS. There's lots of acronyms in the waste and recycling industry. So deposit return scheme is launching in October 2027, and it will require consumers to pay a small deposit on drinks containers. So mainly plastic bottles and cans. Steel drinks is included as well. They don't. The scheme administrator is currently exploring whether glass should be included. I don't think it will. So it will really be those items, and they'll be able to reclaim the deposit that they pay at store through a return point in a machine. So what that means for your members is that some of the smaller ones could exempt themselves, some of the larger ones have to be within the scheme. But what we found, Smiths News and myself, as we've started to explore this in readiness, in other countries, they haven't really considered the impact of smaller retailers. And during my visits to Ireland, Germany, Netherlands, we've been to many countries. What we found is if you don't have a return point as a retailer, you potentially lose footfall. And what I mean by that is if you're a consumer today, you will likely go to a retailer that has a return point to recover your 15p or 20p. So if you don't have a return point, there is a potential that you could lose your footfall and your consumer base, which for your members is absolutely critical. So in order to ensure that you're well represented, I've been talking to some of the Fed members and talking to the scheme administrator called the Deposit Management Organization about ensuring that we have an appropriate system that ensures that small retailers thought about. So again, Smiths News is currently exploring our proposition. We may be looking at working with a partner to offer a cost-effective return machine. It's a machine which will be slightly smaller than a coffee machine, which allows you to have all of the benefits of a reverse vending machine, but at a more cost-effective price, a smaller footprint, and allow your members to be involved in the scheme and ensure that you retain your footfall and your customer base, which is absolutely critical. And we want that to happen because we want the independent retailers to thrive and ensure that they continue to exist and work with us. So it's really important that we continue that really strong collaboration. And I think the work that we're doing with the DMO will really help your members.
Fantastic, Adam. Well, I know that there's a lot of retailers that maybe know what DRS is in terms of they've heard of it, but that definitely will clear it up and those other legislations. So thank you for that. Just to finish off, I suppose if we go back to Smiths News Recycle, we both know that independent retailers are constantly facing problems, challenges. So what problem or need really does the Smiths News Recycle help independent retailers address?
It's a great question. Ultimately, it goes back to our point earlier. We want to support the members. We want to make their lives easier and more profitable. And how we do that is by offering a really cost-effective solution. So our Smiths News Recycle offer is really competitive in the market when you compare our services to a traditional bin collection. So that's really the first point. It's cost effective. The second point is we're really easy to do business with. So your members already work with us with news and magazines. So bolting on additional services for Smiths News Recycle is super easy. You contact us. There's no hidden charges. There's no lengthy onerous contracts, and it's really flexible. And we want to ensure that happens just to make it easier for your members to use us. So we're already a reliable partner. We're really cost effective. You will see the same drivers. So you're not going to see 2 or 3 or 4 different drivers arrive. So that means that you have familiarity. So when we deliver, we collect. And that allows us to give a really carbon, environmentally friendly solution. So we ultimately want to help them with any of their waste and recycling needs. So we encourage the members to reach out to me personally. They have the contact details for Smiths News already. As the landscape changes with vapes, with DRS, with simpler recycling, we're there to support and hold retailers' hands through that transition, because ultimately what we want to happen is the retailers focus on their customers. Smiths News can support them with the rest. We can support them with all the legislation change. and make sure that it is all of the things I mentioned. It's cost effective, it's easy to use, and that they know that we're a reliable partner. So I think that captures everything, in terms of our service. I want to develop our offer, with the retailers. So I'm keen to hear about any improvements we can make or any problems that we can solve for them.
Fantastic. Well, that does bring us to an end. To retailers tuning in, if you do want to sign up to the scheme and get involved, or if you have any questions you want to speak to Smiths News about it, please do so. But that brings us to a close. So Adam, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for everyone for watching.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Nathan.